In 1972, a plane travelling from Uruguay to Chile crashed in the Andes Mountains. Of the 45 passengers on board, 16 survived being stranded for 72 days in one of the world's most remote and inhospitable regions. Nando Parrado was one of those survivors. This story of survival is often overshadowed by the fact that the survivors had to eat the dead. But the real lesson for us lies in how these 16 men, whom the whole world had presumed dead, managed to claw their way back to life. When the plane crashed, the main fuselage came to rest in the middle of a snow-filled valley. A wall of mountains surrounded the plane at every angle, and the survivors very quickly established that escaping over the mountains on foot was absolutely impossible, and that waiting for rescue was the only option that they had. That first night, they huddled together for warmth against the minus 30-degree temperatures outside and began to wait. Days passed, food ran out, rescue didn't arrive, and things grew increasingly desperate, yet still they waited. Nando, whose sister and mother had died in the crash, was now focused only on his father and his desire to embrace him once again. On the 10th day, the survivors heard on a small radio that the search and rescue efforts to find him had been called off. They now faced the unenviable choice of either starving to death or eating the dead. Days turned into weeks, and even conscious that no one was looking for them, still they waited. Around about the 30-day mark, the survivors finally began to accept that no one was coming, that no one was looking for them, and that the only hope that they had was if they rescued themselves. And once they reached that mindset, they went outside and looked at the very same mountains that on the first day they had deemed absolutely impossible to cross over, and started to question just how impossible they were. All of a sudden, possible solutions started to come to mind, and these solutions gave them the tiniest chance of successfully trekking to Chile, but at the time, that was all that they had. It was decided that only Nando and his friend Roberto Canisa would make the trek towards civilization, but everyone helped in the preparations. Sleeping bags, snowshoes, makeshift tools were all made by the group, anything that might aid them on their journey, because everyone's life depended on them succeeding. It took them 3 days to climb the first mountain. When they reached the top, they'd expected to see the green fields of Chile, but all the view revealed was miles more mountains. They knew then that they would probably die, but they decided to forge ahead, die on their own terms, and to continue walking until there was no breath left in their bodies. 3 forces drove Nando forward: the will to live, the love for his father, and the knowledge that if he returned to the fuselage, that very soon the only bodies left to eat were that of his sister and his mother. Nando says that each stride forward was a step stolen back from death and a step closer to his father. On the 10th day of their epic trek, the pair finally reached civilization. For 72 days, the world had presumed them dead, but they never felt more alive than that moment. The following day, the remaining 14 passengers still at the crash site were rescued. Nando got to embrace his father and shared a very special bond with him until his father's death at age 90. Nando decided to follow his passion and become a race car driver. He married the woman of his dreams and had 2 daughters that could never have been born had it not been for their father's extraordinary will to live. The other 15 survivors have similar stories to tell. The reason that I love this story is because I think it represents much of society today. So many of us are in painful, difficult situations that we don't welcome, and we're waiting for someone else to come and rescue us, someone who isn't coming. And it doesn't matter how we ended up in that situation, it could be someone else's fault, but until we take responsibility and ownership for getting out of it, we'll stay stuck. Once we realize that the only person who can truly rescue us is ourselves, then our minds will begin to bring forth all the answers and solutions that we need to get over whatever mountains we're facing. And I've interviewed enough successful people from my book Stand on My Shoulders to realize that there's no mountain too big that it can't be overcome by the person who takes responsibility for climbing it.